What a morning we've had. No, not a morning, first half of the afternoon. I just thought when Christopher Clowder was speaking that the next person that asked me why me and my contemporaries have worked our socks off for so many decades and are still working our socks off, I would just play them his talk. Thank you. It was amazing. Thank you. And I think Lawrence gave the keynote for the two talks I'm giving, one now, which is looking at the sort of build-up of the networks of light, and then one in a minute. Dominic will tell me when, I don't know when. Really what's happening now, what's moving forward right now. So I think his keynote was, we need spiritual unity of purpose. So if you like, if I were giving a sermon in church, which thank heaven I'm not, that would be my text. So that's sort of what I'd like to really bring to our minds. Because we're living in pivotal times. It's like we're living on the cliff edge of change in a world which the evolutionary impulse has been moving us forward for 13, I don't know if it's 0.5 or 0.8 billion years, a mighty long time. And it seems to go in leaps and jumps. And right now, it's really an emerging jump, and we're all in it, and we're all involved. And the next stage isn't going to come through the heavens on a plate. It's for us. We're the architects of it, in alignment with the plan, we're the builders of it, in alignment with the plan. And it's only going to work if we become not just creative workers, as it says in the C groups, but co-creative workers. Because I think we're going to need to work with the many dimensions that Christopher alluded to, as well as with each other. But this build-up has been going on. It's been given great leaps forward by the masters through the ages, who brought in new messages, but weren't often fully understood at the time. And they've sort of become a little atrophied as time has gone on, as things do. And at each era, there's been this great pull between the material world and the spiritual world. And I think our job collectively is to, like a tug of war, be the pull of the spiritual world. So there are the sort of rational scientists who think that humanity has reached the peak of our conscious awareness because we've learnt to manipulate the material world. We meet our needs, or the needs of some of us, and we can just sit back and enjoy life. But they haven't quite seen, as people in this room will have seen, that there's a whole spiritual purpose to life. And that's what I think we collectively need to uncover, even if it is by making cups of tea. And I was very grateful, Dina, thank you for my cup of tea just now. All these little things build up and add to the morphic field, which is what is going to actually help the shift. I was quite a student of Sir George Trevelyan in his day, and so often he quoted Christopher Fry that wrong comes up to meet us everywhere now, never to leave us, till we take the greatest stride of soul man ever took. Affairs are now soul size. And I think in the generations that we represent in this room, we have to tackle soul-sized affairs. So in this talk, I'm going to sort of just quickly run over the waves of soul-sized emerging new consciousness that have happened through the various eras of the past. And then in the next talk, look at the strides of soul that are currently being taken. Not only are we evoking the one life, but the one life is also calling us. And I think, as Dominic and Lawrence and others have alluded to, we need above all to listen and tune into the impulse of evolution, which we know has led us in a biological way. That was discovered by Darwin and others quite a while ago. But consciousness is also evolving, and we need to evolve with it. So from the earliest of days, I'm not a historian, but we see spirit shining through. It's there in the cave paintings, if you really look, the spirit of life that's there. It's there in dances, the lovely dances that dance the energy out of the land, with music and song, as ways of connecting us to something deeper. As has been mentioned, the great Gothic cathedrals lift us towards the heavens. And the ancient cultures did all demonstrate how to live in harmony with invisible dimensions of being. And that's one of the things we seem to have lost, as I think Christopher was telling us about. The myths and fairy tales have also kept our memories alive. And the myth that I like the best, I think, is the Sleeping Beauty, where all the court are asleep. And the Sleeping Beauty herself is awoken by the kiss of the prince, representing our higher self. And a recent book by Neil Donald Walsh, in his series Conversations with God, says that our key task now is awaken the species, because we are sleeping our way through the world. Those of us in the room are not. We are well aware of what's going on. But I think we have to collectively wake up, even if it's just someone at the supermarket checkout or at a bus stop. Just say something that will kind of open their eyes to something more. So as the centuries went on, the Kabbalah kept it alive, the alchemy, the quest for the Grail, Gnosticism, the Knights Templar, the Egyptian Hermetic teachings, all kind of kept this thread going through the generations. And in the 15th and 16th century, we had the Renaissance and lovely pictures like the one we've been shown. We had the Rosicrucians in the 17th century. In the 18th and 19th century, the Romantic poets, and I'm really glad I studied those at A-level at school, because they too were reminding us that spirit is in nature, spirit is in all life. So it's these key aspects of the hidden stream that are so greatly needed today. I think this understanding is within everyone, and why I particularly like the talk on education. And I've got one of my daughters is a Steiner teacher of early years, so some of the best moments of wonder for me have been at events at the Steiner School. They are very, very special. And children have this in them until it's squashed out of them. But we're beginning to shift our understanding. God is no longer an old man in the sky pouring down judgment on us, but is the consciousness that underpins all life, pervades all life. It's an eternal sea of consciousness that we live in, and which crests into manifested form, but is there in all things. And that matter is how spirit appears in the physical world. But we've rather come to worship the matter and forgotten the spirit that supports it. I think again Christopher alluded to this, that our hearts are the organs of the soul, and as important as the brains. I speak as a sort of educator. I did 30 years on the staff of the Open University, which I think was a wonderful invention. And really, I think one of the things the OU did, which isn't happening in much of higher education now, is holding that spark in the student that lights up and helps them want to really learn and study and develop their own potential. We also need the both sides of the brain. The work by Ian Gilchrist, the master and his emissary, really shows this, that we've become lopsided. We've given the rational left brain as the ruler, whereas actually it's the intuitive right brain that needs to lead the way, with the rational left brain following it. So it's another of the changes. And I think the big one that all the faiths really agree with is that love is the glue that holds all life together, which is why relationships are so important, as has been said. And if we truly grasp the best 2 commandments of the 10 commandments, love the Lord thy God with all your heart and mind, and your neighbour as yourself, because the neighbour is ourselves. We're all part of the one. What a different world it would be if we could do that. So I think that's one of the changes that is now underway. So these hidden streams that have been flowing through time have had many efforts at being destroyed. And always they rise up again. But some things have survived and emerged in our time, like the Gnostic Gospels hidden in the earthenware jars out in the Middle East. And there's a saying which I think is often repeated in the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas. If you bring forth that which is within you, what you bring forth will serve you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And what we have within us, and as children, or every human has, is this incipient divinity. We too, as Sir George Trevelyan always said, are droplets of divinity. And I think this is what we need to bring forth. We are ourselves children of the one Lord, and therefore all children have the characteristics of their parent, don't they? So I think this bringing forth the inner life to relate to the outer life is what the Ofsted inspectors, etc., who are trying to really crush creativity in schools, just need to learn and understand. And 2,000 years ago, we were told that the kingdom of heaven is within you. And ever since then, the prayer has been, may thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So that's another sort of side of the work I think we're about. So this new consciousness has been emerging since, more rapidly since the 1960s, I think, and is moving us towards a deeper understanding. It's growing momentum all the time. I was part of a small group in the early 1970s that clubbed together to buy a small farm to try and farm organically, care for the environment, live in closer connection with each other, and offer holistic forms of education. It was called the Bridge Trust because we saw that bridges were needed between the present separative consciousness that was prevalent at the time and the new unitive consciousness that was emerging. Most of my friends thought I'd gone potty. What's she on about? The environment, nature, caring for it, organics. They just couldn't understand it. But if you think from those days, which was around about 73, what has developed? I mean, organic food is now commonplace. Okay, it's taken 40-something years, but the upsurge of the young, all my adult grandchildren are all turning towards veganism because they think that's the way forward. So the young are really taking on some of the efforts that we started a long time ago. But each new initiative comes from a spark that's lit in one person, two people, three people. And when two or three are gathered, I am there in the midst. And things can happen from that. So in this room, I'm sure many of you are very busy sparking new ideas, new ways forward. And those who aren't, please be encouraged to trust your own intuition and spark whatever vision is coming to you. Because we all have a part to play. I think, as Dominic was mentioning, the plan was there with the Creator right at the very, very big breath. My friend Jude Caravan calls it a big breath rather than a big bang. I don't know, I'm not a scientist. But the plan I'm bearing calls the dream of the cosmos. It's a dream of how we will become. But each of us has a part to play in that. It may be a very small part, it may be a very big part. Both are equally important, it doesn't matter. But to believe in your dreams, to believe in the visions that come to you, and to set about doing them with patience and perseverance, because there'll be many setbacks. This is what will spark the whole into something more. And I'd like to suggest we only have about 5 years to really get this going. So I don't want to, this is not meant to be setting alarm bells, it's been meant to sort of saying, come on, we can do it. As Jonathan Livingston Seagull, Richard Bach says, because he flies so much better than all the others, he can because he thinks he can. And if we think we can, we can. So that would be my bit of encouragement there. One obstacle has been that materialist science has resisted any new understanding, by and large, apart from a few people. Einstein was the first to break through this by showing that all is energy. But the evidence now coming forward is that consciousness is not something that we have, but it's what we and the whole world are. We are, each of us, units of consciousness with potential far beyond anything we have imagined for ourselves. But we can only move towards that potential step at a time, and with encouragement from each other. And this is now shifting. The Scientific and Medical Network have just come out with a summary report of the Galileo Commission, which is headed Beyond a Materialist Worldview. And so I think this shift in worldview, how we see the world, is a really important thing to communicate whenever we can, that we are living in a whole world. Everyone's involved. And one of the things I'm involved in is called the Unity Community, which has been growing around Dr. Jude Currivan's work on the vital importance of communicating a whole world view. Her recent book, The Cosmic Hologram, really gives the scientific evidence that we're living in one holographic world, where the same information, the same principles are there in the most minute atom or even smaller element and in the great macrocosmic stars. And that some of that same information shows itself in human patterns, like the incidents of war or the way coastlines are laid out and things like that. So there is a new story emerging. I was part of the New Stories Summit, which was held at Findhorn in 2014. And I'll say more about that in my next little slot. But I think the job that we can all do is, in our minds, work out what is this new story, this story of interconnectedness, the story of love underpinning everything. It can be very simple. It doesn't have to be esoteric or complicated. Children know this. And, okay, I'm nearly there. And it's this story which we've had a story of separation that's underpinned our present society. If we can change that story to one of interconnectedness, of love, of the diversity of our endeavors all being held in one vast unity. So as Teilhard de Chardin used to speak about unity and diversity, then I think we together, we can, as Obama used to say. So today is the solstice, when the darkening world shifts towards an enlightening one. And Natasha will tell you about the silent minute for everyone is involved in today, hopefully this evening. But if we can each of us embody and radiate that light in whatever we do, wherever we are, then we can indeed light up our world. Thank you.